my growing up, I never understood why nobody told me. There were fish banks when I was a kid, right? They've been around forever. But no one explained to me why. Sometimes a bad idea to remember these symbols matter. So the fish banks are not fish banks for a reason. Let's pray. Lord God, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. For you are our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. So today marks the first Sunday of Lent. And so I was talking with my spiritual director about Lent recently and what my hopes were for Lent this year. I meet with a Catholic nun about once a month to talk about things that maybe affect our congregation but also affect me as a leader, to kind of process them with outside of my family. She's been trained to do this, to point to God and what God might be up to and ask good questions. And we're talking about Lent. And I want to paint a picture for you. I'm in my home office. So this is the place that became my home office in the midst of COVID. I come into the office probably 75 to 80% of the time that I need to have a new office person, but I still work from home occasionally. And the corner of my bedroom is the only place where I can walk everybody out of and have some privacy and not have a video be interrupted. And I'm sitting in this chair that has a really great background because I've been doing this for like 2.5 years, right? Of having to video chat with people. And so there's this great wall behind me, maybe some pretty things behind me above me. And in front of me, I see my veterans, right? I see the mess that is my life, right? Clean clothes that are having to dry, and dirty clothes that have to make it to the laundry basket, the bed that happens to not have been made that day, the toys that seem to migrate. Because my kids have to come in and bring the shield and the sword, but don't take it out with them when they are done showing me whatever they are doing. I see papers that have accumulated from using this space as my office and the books that I hope to read in my free time. And we're talking about Lent and how it has become my understanding, at least of my experience of Lent, that although Lent is supposed to be a time when we have self-sacrifice, when we confess our sins and we draw close to God, my experience of Lent has become a self-improvement project. So often, even as a small child, I was encouraged, not required, by my non-Catholic parents. My parents are not Catholic, but they always gave up something for Lent. Whether it was chocolate or 1 year. So here's a trajectory of how things went in my life. I gave up strawberries because it's really hard to give up strawberries in the middle of April in Western Pennsylvania. Real sacrifice. So I gave up chocolate. I gave up bubble gum. So the next year I tried to give up, all caffeine because I gave up chocolate this other year. Maybe I need to do something harder. So then I tried to give up sugar because by this point I'm working in a hospital and I work with diabetic people. So I use that as an excuse. I want to have empathy for what they experience. So I'll give up sugar and I just keep pushing the envelope to see how good I can be at this Lent thing. Right? I confess the sugar one did me. Palm Sunday weekend, I was helping the youth group and they had donuts. And I went off the bandwagon big time, sugar coma and everything. So then I tried, as an adult who now has children, I'm going to give something up every day of Lent to try to simplify my life and not be attached to all of my stuff. Really, it's about decluttering my life and making it more attractive to myself and to others. So talking to my spiritual director about Lent and acknowledging all the ways that I have messed up Lent in the past, right? While still looking at the mess in front of me and wondering when I can get cracking on this mess and clean it up. And maybe I can have it as a spiritual discipline in the process. And my spiritual director paused and said, what happens if Lent is supposed to be not the doing of stuff, but the being still before God? I said, it's funny. I think I've shared with you all. It's funny, one of my good friends and colleagues in my doctoral program taking something away that will make me a better person, or adding something that will make me a better person. I should simply be still. Lent is supposed to remind us of our need for God. Because all of these self-improvement plans that I have tried to engage in make me think that I can make myself better through pure willpower. Kate Bowler, who I mentioned recently in sermons, an expert on the prosperity gospel, a teacher at Duke Divinity School, put out a resource called Blessed Be the Lent That We Actually Have. And so that has inspired some of what I'm going to be saying the next couple of weeks. What happens if Lent we're supposed to remember that we're not supposed to be perfect? And so today, blessed are the imperfect. Blessed are the imperfect. So in the text today that I read from Matthew, we must remember that before this happened, Jesus is baptized. And there, I've shared this on baptism weeks, and we always have to remember who we are, that we are who we are because of our baptism. Jesus is baptized, the sky opens up, and a voice from heaven says, "This is my beloved, whom I am well pleased." And I want to remind you, this is before he fasts and is tempted. This is before he does any miracles. This is before he's gathered these disciples around that eventually up to 5,000 before he's done healing. So then it says the Spirit then kind of compels him to go out. And he goes into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. Which is where we get 30 days of Lent. We start on Ash Wednesday, and it is 40 days if you do not count Sundays. Because the ancient church felt like that every Sunday was a mini Easter, and so we should never fast on a Sunday, because it is a celebration of the resurrection of Jesus. And so that is never counted in fasting days. So 40 days. And so we mimic those 40 days of Jesus being out in the wilderness. And I want to be clear. Scripture says, not if you fast, but when you fast. So fasting is something that is told to us as something that we should be doing. And I confess I am not necessarily good at it. Partly because I can make it about something else very easily. But I would argue that this fast is a Jesus fast. One of my favorite professors used to always say, "Beth, you are not called to be Jesus. Jesus is perfectly good at being Jesus himself. You be Beth." So the same words apply for you. You be Kate, and you be Paul. And saying you be you, you're not called to be Jesus. And so we are not called to do what Jesus did. Jesus goes out on our behalf, right? Jesus goes out on our behalf into the desert. And he is tempted in 3 ways. And it's interesting, Bowler, this professor that I am reading, argues that they are 3 specific temptations. The first temptation is a temptation to avoid pain. If you just turn these stones into bread, you will no longer have hunger. Right? Quick and easy solution to avoid pain. And we have a problem with this in our culture. I am quick to take an Advil if I have pain before praying to God to remove that pain. We are a fast solution where we would rather do the easy taking of a prescription than a long and hard challenge to our bodies to make things better. Now I have a caveat. There are times when prescriptions are necessary. But we as a people do not like pain. We don't even like emotional pain. Brene Brown writes in her books, in her work, as she studies people and their pain and their shame, that we like to numb ourselves, whether with socially unacceptable things like illicit substances or alcohol, or scrolling on our phones to avoid having to talk to one another. That we like to numb ourselves to avoid any kind of spiritual, emotional, physical pains. Jesus has offered that opportunity, and he says, man does not live by bread alone. We are not called to avoid that pain. The second one is fear. Jesus is told that if he were to just dive off of this cliff, God will pick him up, and he doesn't have to face the fear of rejection. He doesn't have to face the fear of the pain that he knows is coming because of the cross. He doesn't have to face any of that fear of having to face the Pharisees, the Sadducees, family rejecting him at times, and the pain of the cross. All of that fear could be avoided because he would die, they would pick him up, and everyone would believe, right? That's the way these things work. Except they don't, right? Moses splits the sea, and the people walk on dry land, and then they can't believe, they doubt, they want to go back to Egypt. We're not good, we always need another miracle. But Jesus has offered the quick fix to help avoid the fear. I don't know about you, but I feel like people are trying to market on my fears, right? We want to control everything in our lives. Recently, I had a nightmare come back that I hadn't had since I was a child. I used to dream occasionally that my house was on fire. And I remember the dream, I'm outside my house watching it in flames, crying as I fall to the floor, and then I typically fell out of bed and woke up. Now the dream is I'm trying to get to my children to get them out of the world. Because the fear is that I cannot protect them from this world. I cannot protect my children, let alone all of the children that I see that are impoverished and literally starving in war-torn areas or in the slums of our own cities. I can't protect them, whether it's from that or this. I can't even protect my body from the ailments of aging. One of my closest friends from seminary has rectal cancer, and my husband is covering for him right now. I cannot protect myself, and those fears can take hold, right? And Jesus says that we are not to put the Lord our God to the test. He doesn't say that we are not to ever be afraid. He says we're not to put the Lord your God to the test. The final test that Jesus had is one of political power. Because we all know that accruing as much political power as possible, whether it be in your family or in your community or in the United States government, that works really well for people to avoid shame, right? It works really well for people. Brene Brown says that shame is believing not that you did something wrong, but that you are wrong. Right? And there is so much shame that the media tells us that we should be, the memories that we have from childhood that tell us the ways that our life should be that are probably worked through time, that they are not, things were not what we thought they were. And we have shame about not living up to other people's expectations or our own expectations or a combination of both. Jesus is told, if you just bow down and trust me, I'll take care of the rest. And you'll have no reason for shame. Right? And Jesus responds, you shall worship the Lord your God only. Not all these other places that we put our trust. Good things. Tim Keller argues that idols are not bad things, but good things that we make first things. Whether it's our savings account and bank accounts or the medical system, or the idea that we can make the world better through effort, through giving a few coins to make the world better and alleviate poverty. Those are bad things. Medicine, education, learning, giving, all of those are good things, but when we make them first things, when we trust them or ourselves, it. Because our culture says that's enough. And Jesus is not saying shame and fear and blame are wrong. What he is saying is that going to someone other than God with our fears and our pains and our shames is where it gets wrong. Jesus is the perfect one, and he is tempted in this way. So how much more do we expect to be tempted ourselves? Because again, I am not Jesus, you are not Jesus. Jesus is perfectly good at being Jesus. And he withholds these temptations, and at the end is brought comfort by the hands of the angel. So what happens in this Lent, knowing that there are things that assail us, that cause us fear or shame or pain? What happens if in our imperfections we remember our need for God? I will never forget Dr. Ken Bailey prayed at my ordination, and it was such a moving prayer. I found the recording at my parents' church and got it and played it over and over and over again until I could get the whole text written down. And he said, in his prayer, may we, in the midst of our infirmity, sense our need for God. Most of my prayers I ask for healing, relief from the pain and the shame and the fear. And he says, in the midst of this, may I feel a need for God. So I don't know how you are going to observe Lent. Whether you're going to give something up or add something, or just we're lucky that we're here and that Jesus is going to get for some of us, and that is okay. But I wonder what it would look like if we found moments. I don't think they even have to be long moments, because any moment with God is a moment well spent, where we remember that we are not called to be perfect, that we are called to remember our imperfections and remember our need for God. When God created in Genesis 1 and 2, God didn't say, and God created male and female. He said they were perfect. Even before the fall, he only said we're very good. We're not supposed to be perfect. And so rather than trying to be, what happens if we spend this season as we move towards the cross remembering our very real need for this Jesus in our lives? At this time, I'm going to read a blessing from Kate Bowler and invite Barb Brothers, who's going to come down and play. It might be a song that's familiar to you. It is by Lauren Daigle, you say, so some of you might find it familiar. It is going to be our closing hymn next week. You can really use it, so don't be surprised. I think the words are on the screen, but it was just a way to get familiar. So listen to this blessing for this beautiful limited day. Bowler writes, "Blessed are we who see the impossibility of solving today. It can't be done. God, there are lists on lists and errands on errands, and a taste like tin in our mouths of the unfinishedness, the imperfectibility of our lives. Are we counting items instead of knowing what counts? God has us live here, see the whole truth of what is. Blessed are we who walk towards the discomfort, bringing what gifts we have and our sufferings too, whether of illness or loss, of grief or betrayal, confusion or powerlessness. Blessed are we who scoot up close, so that we can whisper our loves, our fears, all that feels too heavy to carry alone, and all that we wish we could hold on to for longer. Show us what we love. Show us what we never want to lose. And show us what we no longer need here in this beautiful, limited day as we place our trust and hope in you.